But there will be slides before.
Okay, you ready? So I think it's time to start because there is another workshop after this, so we need to finish in time. Agree with us, please. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for your willingness and intention to come today and participate in today's workshop. Our topic today is teaching mixed ability classes. Okay, these are the main aims or the session aims. The first aim is to discuss general techniques about managing mixed ability classes, then evaluating ideas of providing appropriate levels of challenge to each type of students, if you have high-level students or low achievers, to consider how course book tasks can be adapted to suit or to fit different students' abilities, and then to provide practice on how to modify the activities that we have to fit these students. Okay, this is an overview of the session. The first part is going to be an introduction, a short introduction, and then we're going to talk about managing, and then providing a topic difficult challenge, and then working with the course book. Finally, sum up. Before we start, there is a short video that I would like you to watch. It's just a 2-minute video. I want you to watch this video. Think about it. What do we mean, okay, by mixed ability class? It's just a very, very brief video, and then we have some questions to answer about this. Okay? Yep.
Hello, my name is Amanda French. I would say that all of the classes I've ever taught could be described as mixed ability. And I would also say that my experience is really typical as a teacher of English. So how come teachers end up teaching a mixed ability class? In private language schools and colleges, students are usually tested so that they can be placed in the right class. Such placement tests may include the production of a piece of writing, tasks with a focus on grammar and vocabulary, perhaps a reading comprehension task, and a short interview. The results of the placement test will help administrators and directors of study decide whether, say, a student should go into an A2 level class or a B1 class would be more suitable. However, we can be pretty sure that students won't have the same level of ability across all 4 skills. They might be better at reading and listening, for example, and they might be really good at clicking on the right answers in a vocabulary multiple choice task, and find it hard to actually use a good range of vocabulary when speaking to a real person in real time. So a placement test is really a rough estimate. In schools, students are often according to their age. However, just as with any other subject, maths or science for example, their ability is going to vary. So what can we, as teachers, do about this? Perhaps the first thing we should remember is that any class with more than one person in it is in fact a mixed ability class. No 2 students are ever going to have exactly the same abilities needs in the class. In this session, teaching mixed ability classes, you'll have a look at some ideas and strategies for dealing with such heterogeneous learners.
Okay. So what do we actually mean by mixed ability students or mixed ability classes? Yeah.
Because they're all at different levels. They're in the same level 4 class, but they're not at the same ability.
How do yes, please.
She summarized the whole thing saying that if you have more than one student in
In your
your class,
class, that
different
means
levels.
exactly. So you never have same students in the same class having the same ability in all the 4 skills,
Exactly.
right? So it means that every class that you teach, wherever you go, you have mixed ability students, right? So we have very few questions here that I want you quickly, okay, to answer. The first question: how are learners placed in a particular class in college? Or so let's think about Saudi Arabia, the situation here. Yeah, here in college, students are placed according to a placement test. In schools, how are they placed? No, schools are they placed according to placement list? No, according to their age and gender. Okay, so boys and girls, and then according to their age, right? Okay, and what about the countries that you come from? Is it the same situation or different? Yeah, it's either at university or some private institutions. They are placed according to their placement test. In other places according to their age, right?
Not placed by science and arts though as well.
Okay, so it's different.
Major.
Here?
Science or
Okay.
arts.
Yeah, fine. So which learners in your class are generally weaker or stronger? And how do you know? Which students are stronger or weaker? How do you know that this student is stronger or weaker?
The teachers are weak.
Repeaters in our scenario, yes, are always weaker, but how do you know that he's weaker? Before you ask him this question.
After we start teaching.
Yeah. Again, how do you know? After you start teaching, it's according to the students' interaction, participation.
Classroom participation.
Exactly. Yeah. By students' classroom participation, you can tell that this student is stronger or weaker. From the very beginning, from the very first session, you can tell that this student is better or lower. Okay? So, what challenges do a mixed ability class present for you as a teacher? Time management, of course. Yeah, especially if you have an activity and then you have a really good student who finishes like this, and then you have a low-level student who takes like 10-15 minutes to read the questions.
Preparation. You need to spend a lot of time in planning how you will present.
Exactly,
And
planning.
you need to prepare different tasks.
Okay. How about your instructions? Is it going to be the same?
No.
Again, yes, you have to grade or upgrade your instructions according to the students' levels. Sometimes you have to repeat. Okay. What problems do you think weaker learners might experience in your class? Weaker learners. What problems do they have in your class?
They are demotivated.
Okay, they could be demotivated.
They don't want to participate
Why?
because they don't have enough ideas. They don't have the language to express what they feel.
Okay, maybe, yes.
They don't.
In our culture,
Yeah?
in our culture here, it's a stigma to ask questions. It means you don't know. So they don't want to ask questions.
Students don't want to ask questions. Okay.
Being honest,
Yeah.
really honest.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't want to learn English. They're being forced to attend the lesson.
I mean, even if they are willing to learn English, do you think there is still a problem? Sometimes you can have a low-level student who is actually willing to learn, but he still has some problems in the class. Understanding could be one of them. You know, the speed of the language of the teacher, for example, if you're speaking fast, like me. So sometimes some students may not be able to understand what you say. Okay?
Sometimes they're shyness, self-confidence.
Exactly. Their self-esteem is very low in many cases. Even if they know the answer, they are in many cases they are hesitant to speak.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've got
because-
language ego.
Yeah,
They don't want to look stupid in front of them.
exactly. That's another reason. What impact does being in a mixed ability class have on your stronger learners?
They get slowed down.
Yeah.
They kind of get slowed
Yeah.
down.
Okay. Other things impact on being in a mixed ability class have on your stronger learners?
At times they feel bored.
Sometimes, yeah, they feel bored. If you teach to the low-level students, if you're pacing and your activities are too easy for them, they might feel bored. Okay? Any other things? They might feel that they are not learning anything, or the teacher, especially if you give more interest, more attention to low-level students, high-level achievers or high-level students may think that, no, the teacher is not interested in me. He doesn't care about my progress. He only cares about, the low-level students, and he gives them most of the time and attention.
And vice versa.
Yeah, and vice versa.
This is
Which-
why it'd be quite good to get the stronger students maybe teach the weaker students. Or help
Okay, yeah, this would be a good strategy to use. Yeah.
out.
Which opportunities can arise from learners at different levels working together?
Collaborative learning, cooperation.
Okay, yeah, working in groups, giving them tasks, projects. Okay, all these activities could involve and can get both groups to work together. Okay. So let's have a look at this statement. You should teach to the middle of the class. What do we mean by the middle of the class?
Position.
The
Balance.
position of what? The position of your place, where you're standing? Yes? Yes, teaching to the average level. Yes. Can you please, with a partner, discuss for a minute? Do you agree or disagree with this statement? Should we teach to the middle of the class?
Yes.
With a partner, discuss for a minute. I want you to think about the impact that this would have on high or low level students. Okay, but again, I need to teach and being in the middle. Okay, let's see. So, do you agree or disagree with the statement? Habib, you agree?
Yes.
Definitely.
وجعلنا أمة وسطا.
Okay.
No,
Rahim, what do you think?
I think moderation is very good. You have to keep stay in the middle.
Okay, so have you thought about being in the middle of the class or the average level of the students? What about high level students? How would they feel if the level is easier for them? And again, you are still in the middle. You didn't go down to the low level students. How would they feel?
Frustrated.
They still might not understand. They still might not.
Demotivated because it could be challenging for them. It's still average. You didn't go too high to the high level students. You're still in the middle, but it still could be difficult for low level students.
but this depends on the majority. If you speak of the majority as the largest number of the class are
We can't say majority. I mean, even if you have one student, one low level or high level student, you have to consider it.
Yes, you consider it. In this case, you are going to adopt the yearly differentiation, but you will work mainly for the greatest number.
Okay. Yes.
I would think that teaching to the middle of the class also involves the way you grade the language for them.
Okay.
For example, if you're teaching vocabulary point, whereby you kind of include some kind of nuances that those high level,
Yes.
some kind of nuances that one high level feel they need,
Okay.
and low levels to simplify to the extent that they still feel that they can.
Okay, yeah. So these are some ideas. Of course, teaching to the middle of the class can result in higher levels that we just mentioned can become bored, restless, and resentful. Sorry?
Do we have that proper water?
No, it's fine.
I've got water.
Okay. So that's for high level students. About low level students can become frustrated and demotivated. What you need to do is to tell every student in the class, you need to explain to your students that you're not on the same level. And this is a fact that they have to take. They have to accept this fact. You're not in the same level. Even if you are in the same class, okay, you're all in level 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, but you are still different. I mean, one of you could be better at speaking, the other could be better at writing, the other one could be better at grammar, something, you know. So you are still different. But by the end of the session, or by the end of the lesson, every one of you is going to learn something. Okay? High level students will learn, and low level students will also learn. Okay? So this message needs to be clearly conveyed to your learners. Okay? Now, I want you to have a look at the first handout. This handout, it's over your table. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have any questions. And this is, yeah. Please check whether you agree or disagree with the statements. Okay? With your partner,
physically, no, we're talking about knowing okay, is this physically or just like to know who's strong?
Yeah, physically. Yeah, like this would
We
work.
could decide it's strong.
Or if you are doing an activity, you can separate the doing it. You've got 5 minutes to do this. 5 minutes with your partners, please. Teachers should sometimes nominate. Oh, sorry, this is. Let's start with one. It's best to separate the lower and high level students in two different groups. Do you agree?
No.
Why? What are the reasons behind it?
It will be frustrating for those.
They know you're
Yeah. It will affect the class dynamics if you feel that the same student works with the same group every time. Okay, with the same low-level students and the same high-level students working together every time. Okay, it also has effect on the students.
They will have a stigmatized because I belong in a weaker group, so I mean, I can't make that's because of, I'm not that standard,
Exactly.
But why not demoralizing students?
Okay, we are weaker, they are good.
Exactly. Yes, it's demoralizing for the low-level students.
Why not screen them from the very beginning? Why do we do here the admission and exam or placement test or what?
The students are placed according to the placement test. But we agreed from the very beginning that every class is a mixed ability class. You can be right.
But sometimes.
We agreed from the very beginning that every single class is a mixed ability class.
When there is a kind of high percentage harmony, that will be sensitive.
Okay, I'll send you the video that we watched at the beginning.
She actually said someone. The woman said someone could fluke a placement test. They just selected correct answers.
Yeah, I mean, actually, some students are really good at selecting the good answers or the correct answers in a question or in an exam.
Yeah,
So they might be lucky and they can move to higher levels while the actual level is very low.
Yeah, sometimes
Okay.
placement test
She
doesn't
said,
count.
or they might be really good at grammar, okay, and vocabulary, but when it comes to speaking, reading, and writing, their ability is too low. Okay, so
And the speaker in the video says that.
Yeah, she says that.
So, number two, teachers should correct weaker students more frequently than stronger ones. You disagree, why?
Again, it will
What happens if you just ignore the high-level students and you keep working only with low-level ones?
So you feel resentful.
Yeah.
Position, take the middle.
Exactly. They might feel that their progress is not important for the teacher, or they might think that the mistakes are correct. Okay, if they're making mistakes and you just ignore it, they might feel it's correct and they will keep making it, and then by the time it becomes fossilized. 3, when using lower level and higher level worksheets, okay, for differentiated activities, it's up to the teacher to decide which level worksheet each student should receive.
Yeah.
So you have created 2 different sheets for high level and for low level. Is it your decision?
Yes.
You are low level, so you take this. You are high achiever or high level student, you should take this. Just raise your hand, please, if you'd like to speak. Yes?
You just get, but you don't
You
say
don't
it's
mention.
higher or less. You just get.
Of course, you can't say that this worksheet is for high level students and this is for low level students, right?
And they never know. They never know whether a student has an easier sheet or more.
No, they know. I mean, they know. If 2 students are sitting next to each other, they usually look at each other's sheet and say, "Why are you doing something
No,
different?"
but if they know they are.
To avoid cheating.
Okay.
Simplifying the task to remove from weaker students, and they know they have some extra support to reach that level. So sometimes I think.
Okay, but I believe that it could be a good idea if you have both sheets and then ask students to select. This is a more challenging one and this is an easier one, you can go ahead. But you can't tell students that you are weak, you take this, okay? Or, you keep giving him this. Sometimes it's a good idea if you have 2 different or differentiated activities. You have the stronger one on one side and the weaker one or the easier one on the other side, and then you give it to the student and let them decide. For good students, they might be given the time to answer both, while low-level students, if they manage to finish the easy one, they might turn to the other one and then give it a try. Okay, so it could be a good way for both the students to learn and try to challenge their abilities to do something more difficult. 4, students should be divided according to the level in particular skill, like speaking or writing. Now, we are doing an activity, it's a speaking activity, for example, and then, okay, good students here, low-level students here, and now you do the speaking activity.
No.
Do you think it's a good idea?
In this case, it should be mixed.
Why?
Because you want them to learn from each other.
Yeah. Of course, it depends on the activity itself, especially if it's speaking. it's always a good idea to get students to get mixed. Because in speaking activity, and it's a real life, practice, then students have the opportunity to, even if he makes mistakes, like he can correct, he can rephrase. High-level students can ask him questions, or he can ask the high-level students questions to clarify things, to repeat things. So it's still, there's an opportunity for them to learn.
I think teacher did something like this during the training when we have, a doctor role play, a doctor
Yes.
and our, patient, and then a translator. So it was something like this where people have different abilities.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea because teachers know that some students are good in writing, others are good in speaking. So for example, those who are good at writing can be given a task to write questions speaking, and those who are good, they can be given a task to respond to the questions.
Exactly. Yes.
So that way you're exploiting the skills.
Those difference. Yeah. Okay, fine. Setting different time limits for activities for stronger and weaker students during lesson will be helpful.
Agreed.
Yes. Different times, like you work for 1 minute, you work for 2 minutes.
How can they catch up with each other then?
Because at the beginning you will be like two different things, easy and difficult. So
Yeah,
you can say
even though.
I think I would like to disagree with this, because if you set different time for high-level students or low achievers, it could be a disaster in terms of time management.
Yes.
So the best idea would be to give the same time limits for a particular activity and have an extra task. High achievers finish early, give them extra tasks to finish. At the same time, weaker students will be doing the task.
Thank you. Yes, exactly.
The answer to all this is differentiation.
It is differentiated. I mean, you have 2 different activities for 2 different levels of students, but then this is an easy one, so it might take less time, and this might take longer.
It should be the teachers, management of the activity that should take both at the same time.
Yeah, sure. So I don't think it's a good idea to differentiate the time, because it will affect the timing of the class. It will affect the stages of the lesson. So you need to try to give them something at the same time frame that you give. So for low-level students, you know that this activity will take a minute, so give high-level students an activity that would also take a minute. Okay? Okay. There is no need to review work with high-level students. Again, they still feel that they are neglected, they are not important for the teacher, they need to learn something, they need to be involved. Teachers should sometimes nominate weaker students when eliciting answers. So I ask questions, and I would select one of the low-level students to answer.
Sometimes.
But when? Only, I think, if you are sure that this student can give the answer, the right answer, unless you put him in an embarrassing situation where he cannot answer the question in front of the class.
If you find that someone is really passive and he doesn't want to move, so you can't ask it.
So if you think that this student is unable to answer the question, what would you do? So better not to ask him in front of the whole class.
Or you may ask him to repeat the same answer for the good student. Repeat the same
Okay,
answer.
yeah. Or you can ask him to tell the answer to his partner. So in pairs, I will ask him the question, tell the answer to your partner, to the student next to you. Okay? Yes?
Also, students should be prepared, to give an answer. If you just, don't ask them, of course they will be comfortable and not be prepared to give any answers. But if he doesn't answer, for example, you can move to another student and then make him repeat, for example, the answer.
But still, you put him in a situation where you know that he cannot answer the question.
That's the problem.
I mean, give him an opportunity to raise his hand, to participate, or reduce the shyness by getting him to work with a partner. Tell the answer to another student. Something like this. Can I get an answer from this? Yes, please. Yeah? How can you make it more challenging for high-level students?
So I was going to say anyway, make it open-ended, but then that would make it easier actually, because then they could use...
Open-ended, like deleting the word skateboard, for example?
Yeah, but that would make it easier actually.
But you keep the verb.
Delete the verb,
Delete the verb. Just put that.
Yes,
the first part
I
of the
exactly
sentence.
skateboard.
Okay, that's a good way actually. I mean,
but it would make it easier because they wouldn't have to use irregular past then. They could use regular.
No, but it still says yesterday, last year, and the weekend. So it still refers to the past.
Use irregular past, and then they could start using regular past.
Okay, but they have to create the whole sentence of it all. But highlight is still more challenging. Yes.
Probably you can give them more than one verb. The 4 verbs, they have to choose the verb, then put it in the correct.
Okay, instead of having one verb, you can have 3, 4 verbs here. Let them choose the right verb.
I would give them the verbs and ask them to use them in sentences of their own.
Okay, give the verbs, okay, in the present form, in the infinitive form, and then ask students to use them in sentences, using the past. It is challenging.
I would put all the verbs in a box.
That's another good idea. Yeah, put all the verbs in a box at the top, and then put them randomly, and then let students put them in the right place.
And use it in the right tense.
Yeah, choose
the right verb and use it in the right tense.
Exactly, yes. So, yeah, these are almost the same answers that we provided. You can put the root verbs in brackets, as we did, as we just discussed at the top. And then get students to select or put the right verb in the right sentence. Remove the roots, the verb, completely, and then let students put the verb of their own. Okay, make the sentence open-ended as suggested here. Just put the first part, like yesterday, and then complete the sentence. Okay. Now let's have a look at the second handout. Could you please look at this one? You all have it on the table. Okay. In this handout, there are 6 questions. There are actually 6 situations, and you are asking in each situation to try to make the activity whether either higher or lower according to the question. Okay, so read the situation and answer the questions, please, in pairs. Or let's make it in groups of 3, I think. Yeah, it's designed for groups. So 3, you can work in 2. You can work in 3. Can you join this group? You're in a group. You work together, please. Yeah, you're already in a 3. Okay, 2 or 3. Yeah. These are the this is the activity, and according to the question, you need to change this activity according to the higher level students. Okay. So we need to redefine the activities according to the questions. You have 5 minutes to do the activity. There is a text and the questions for the text, and we need to make it challenging for higher students. How would you
do adapt the text and you adapt the question?
It's up to you. You decide. No, you have the passage and you have the question. See how can you make it more challenging.
To change this.
Yeah, it is a reading activity. You don't need to change the whole activity. It's a reading activity. Okay, the students need to read and answer the questions. Based on the text that you already have, how can you make it more challenging for high-level students? Okay, let's do the first one together because I still see that some people are still confused about the instructions. Maybe it's because of my instructions weren't clear. No. The first activity is a reading. You have a reading passage and you have questions, okay? This activity is designed for a classroom. You need to make this activity more challenging for high-level students. What are you going to do? Yeah.
What I want to do for the first question,
Yes.
I'll put like a date at the top of the passage,
Okay.
and then they have to work out the exact year. Instead of putting 3 years ago.
Okay.
For this first question, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. So he's trying to change the questions. Anything else?
Yes.
What about the text? Yes.
No, I won't change the text. I would change the type of questions. For example, I would say, read the following text and make notes of the following points. Make notes. For example, professional esports. Okay, what do you know about this, or what can you say about this? For example, time of training.
Okay.
Money he gets from sports, and the students complete and write what do you know about these points in the text.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Such questions are as a correction, but you can ask for opinion, for preferences, if you were in this position, so what we
Personalization. Okay, so you can change the questions. I see that everybody now is thinking about changing the questions rather than the text.
I'm changing the text.
Okay, good.
Because if you take a look at the first text, all the sentences are in the simple past.
Okay.
I'm giving it to high achievers. I think I could have mix of tenses, like simple past, past progressive, and
All of these are symbols.
Yeah. You can actually add more adjectives to this text, to the text. You can just add more complicated, more difficult language. Yeah, before nouns, put strong adjectives, for example. That could be challenging.
Also, you can use phrasal verbs and idioms.
Connectors. Okay, you can use words that connect ideas. You can make sentences longer. You can. There are so many ways actually you can play around with the text.
Like in a sentence, he left his home. It could be said, he went abroad.
Yeah.
So it could be a bit challenging.
So you could lift the level of the text by adding expressions, okay, or more difficult vocabulary and grammar using conjunctions, relative clauses to make sentences longer. Rather than answering the questions, higher level students would also be given the answers, and then they can write the questions for them.
Like Jeopardy.
Okay. Yeah, let's think of the next one. What could you do to make this multiple choice task easier?
Make the
Okay. Can you discuss in a minute? Just in a minute, discuss activity 2. What would you do with this?
I didn't like it.
It's up to you. Okay, what would you do? Yes?
Maybe one thing you can do is
Simplify the text, okay. Change the words, change the questions. How would you change the questions?
Questions like, for example, who encouraged him to start playing basketball? They can read and scan and find the words from there instead of thinking. So the question we have here, they need to think a lot and come up.
Okay.
My friends have got very good suggestions. He said, why are we working so hard? Just change the task. Give this task.
We can reduce the distractors.
Okay.
To only 3 without so
Exactly. Instead of having 3 or 4 distractors here, you can have only 2 or 3. Okay. So you can also highlight. You can highlight the lines or the sentences where the answer is. Okay. Like you can tell the students that the answer is in line 3 or 4 or 5. Okay. Or just make the question simpler by giving only 2 or 3 options. Okay. For part 3, for exercise 3, you want to use the same text for from exercise 2, the same text from exercise 2, but as a dictation this time. Okay. You are going to give a dictation task to your students. What instructions can you give to your lower level learners? Instructions. We're going to change the instructions here, or change the activity, in fact. So for good students, I will read the text and they write every single word. What about these? The low level ones?
Write the verbs only.
They are going to write only some words in front. They are not
Okay.
the whole.
Yeah? So, any other ideas?
I would have the text with gaps, with lots of gaps for high level students, and
that's for low level.
Few gaps for the low level.
Yeah, it's a dictation activity. So for high level students, they need to write everything. But for low level students, you might give them the text with gaps and then ask them to complete the gaps. Or ask them to write the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives, the linkers, whatever. Okay? So just ask them specific things. Or specific information. Write the dates, write the places, write the years. Okay? Let's move to exercise 4. Yes?
You just give instructions for the higher and the lower.
Yeah, different instructions.
What can you put the average?
There is no average. What do you mean by average?
In your class you have average and this is the majority.
You can't say that this is the majority. How can you tell that these lower level students are more or higher level students are more? But it depends on you. As a teacher, you can tell that this student is qualified, he can answer the question, or this student is no, cannot answer this question, so I'm going to give him a simpler one.
So 2 colors only in the class.
It's black and white.
But that means you will have to differentiate with every single student.
No, with everything. We say the average is mean like 10 out of 20. And then 5 like higher and 5 like lower. It happens in all.
Okay, in this case you need to differentiate the same activity for 3 different levels.
That's what.
Yeah, you can. Okay.
In 5 minutes.
Well, let's move to activity 4. Your learners are going to listen to an interview. This is a listening task. Okay, with a fashion designer. Okay, some key vocabulary in the recording will be too hard for your lower level learners. How can you prepare low level students for the listening? So they are going to listen to a text and interview, but some vocabulary in the text is too high for lower level. How can you prepare them before they start listening? Reteach the vocabulary. Yes, you can reteach them. But what about high level students? What can they do during that time? So for low level students, I will just give them, for example, the word and the definition, and then they can match, or gaps, and then they fill the words. So they can learn the vocab. What about high level students who already know this vocab?
We can pair them up.
They already know.
We can pair them up.
Ask us to teach those words to Worksheets.
Or ask them to use them in sentences of their own.
Okay, yeah.
Define them. How about the spelling? How about the spelling?
Yeah.
While the high level can work but definitions, you give the lower level the words and definition they match.
Okay. So you can create the vocabulary matching for lower level. Okay. But for high level students, they could brainstorm or predict the words that would come in the text. So it's an interview with a fashion designer. What do you think you would say? Okay, what kind of vocabulary is going to use? And then let them try to think and then make their own lists of vocabulary. 5. Some of your high-level students have finished answering a set of true-false questions. Okay, on a text called social media. What sort of writing tasks could you do while lower-level students are still finishing the true-false question? It's a text. It's true-false. High students have already finished. Low-level students are still struggling. So what would you do with high-level students?
They can express their own opinions.
Very good. But it's a writing task. We need to give them a writing task because we don't want them to speak. They will create noise for the other students.
Write a
They can.
Write answers to critical thinking questions.
Or they can write the questions.
They can maybe correct the full sentences.
Correct the full sentences. Okay. That's
False because blah 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 blah.
Very good.
Justify their answers, then maybe write a summary using.
They can write some notes.
Yes, they can write notes. They can write comments about the text. Okay. 6. What activities could you do with your whole class to prepare them for the writing task below? This is a writing task that you can see in exercise 6. It's about teenage clothes shop. What activities would you do with the whole class? With both students, high and low level students. Okay, in preparation for writing. The students are going to write about their favorite clothes shop. So we need an activity to involve all students, higher and lower.
Brainstorm.
Okay, like?
Their favorite.
Very good. Okay, what else? Could it be done through questions and answers, or in pairs, or a discussion?
I think it's good to use questions.
Okay, so the teacher would ask questions and get answers from the students.
Yeah, and then they can use these answers to, like, this book.
I think a discussion would be more fruitful in this case if you get students to talk about their favorite clothes shop. Okay, where do you go? Who do you usually go with? What things do you usually buy? Which shop is cheaper, more expensive? Stuff like this. So
they can do it in
we provide them with a video clip, a short video clip.
Pictures.
Okay, because a short video clip of somebody shopping and then get students to speak about it. So speaking activity, according to the student's ability, they will be able to say something. Okay, whether he is high or low level student. Okay, now we have talked about how to differentiate the activities, how to make the activities. Okay. We have just discussed a number of ways to create materials which will work with mixed ability classes. Now, we are going to use similar techniques with course books. Okay? If you look at the back of the first handout, there are some activities here. From 1 to 5, this is adapted from English Unlimited, level 3. Okay. I want you to work in one activity. Each group will work in one activity. Try to make it easier and more challenging. The same activity. Okay. So exercise 1. Okay. One group. Exercise 2. 2 here. Okay, can you work on exercise 3? Only exercise 3, please. Exercise 4, exercise 5, and then exercise 6, exercise 1, 2. Just look at one single exercise, okay? Okay, done? We only have 5 minutes to wrap up. Please, yes. For the first activity, yeah, group 1.
Yeah.
Activity 1, what would you do with this?
We'll ask for the weaker students, they can choose a topic.
Okay.
That they like.
Yes.
And then the teacher will designate a topic for them, give them the topic.
The teacher will give them helping questions.
Guided questions, sorry, guided questions.
Okay. So they don't just need to think about the whole idea, it's just give them prompts to answer. Okay. That's for low-level students. What about higher-level students?
High-level students, let them choose a topic, and then we nominate the topic.
Yeah, fine. 2, it's a listening task. What would you do?
For learning students,
Yes.
they listen and then we provide them with true or false. Yeah. For high level students, they listen and we give them the question here is to discuss it.
What about giving low level students the text? So they read and listen at the same time. Okay, that would be easier for them.
That was our answer.
That's your answer?
Yeah.
Okay,
we were
this is
keeping the same. We were keeping the same.
Okay. So task 3 was here.
For task 3, we came up with a few ideas. For example, one of the ideas is to give, for weaker ones, you can provide ABCs for each question.
Okay, so you provide answers, multiple answers.
That is one way. Another way would be, they start doing the task with the same questions, and towards the end of the task, the teacher goes to the weaker one and give them the right answers, jumbled up. And now the stronger one has to go to the weaker one and get the right answers.
That's very good. That's, motivating and engaging both students. Weaker. It is, but it's still useful. 4.
One is to match the sentences,
Okay.
arrange it into a paragraph, write a paragraph, personalize it, write a paragraph.
About themselves. Okay.
On the weaker levels, maybe just a clue from the matching side. One letter from the matching side as a clue.
Okay. So you just provide a model. Okay. Yeah, that would work. 5 here. Yes? What would you do?
For the high level students, no prompts, they just have to speak on something that interests them.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
For lower,
lower,
they can just be given a paragraph and rearrange it, put it in order.
Very good idea.
Give more options about the interest, name the interest, and then share it with
Okay. Activity 6. Yeah. Read or listen to each other's interests and then ask questions.
With guys, we asked them to use a question that have been brainstorming from 5 minutes.
Okay.
So they just ask the same question and answer them rather than then coming up with their own questions. Okay. So that's for the weaker guys. For the more advanced students,
Yeah, they make it come to the front of the class and see questions.
Okay, so they come to the front and then other students will ask the questions. That's a very good idea.
Challenging.
1, do you have any other answers other than the answers given here? The same. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Let's quickly. This is a summary of what we've done today. During the session, we've learned how to, or we know how to recognize learners' abilities and tailor activities accordingly. Encourage positive classroom dynamics by finding ways for higher and low-level students working together. Encourage learners to be responsible for their own learning, like let them choose the level or the activities sometimes. This is a recap to discuss general techniques for managing that we have discussed, to evaluate ideas, to consider how coursebook tasks can be adapted, and then provide practice as we have just done with the last activity. Okay? Thank you very much.
وليد